besieged the city. The walls were burned down. The homes were a pile of stones and charred wood. But God encouraged the people with his promise. He then said in verse 6, "Nevertheless, I will bring health and healing. I will heal my people and let them enjoy abundant peace and security." I believe with all my heart that this is what God's desire is for each of us and for our church. The health that God desires is spiritual, emotional, relational, and even physical well-being. When we encounter God on a regular basis by intentionally seeking him through daily devotions, through quiet moments to meditate on his goodness and promises, through personal times of worship, and through a regular encounter with God as we converse with him through prayer, we can begin to embrace his promises and hear his voice. Personally, I long for those wonderful encounters. But as you can see, this call to encounter God is not something of mere happenstance. It's not something that we merely stumble upon. It's something that we have to be totally intentional about. Yes, it does take discipline. We have to schedule it into our busy lives, or it just won't happen. We have to take the time to get away and seek God out. This will help us to find what works best for us and practice it on a regular basis. Experiment with it and find how to encounter God and what works best for you. Utilize the daily devotionals we provide on our website, or the papers you can get at the information booth. Read through the Bible in a year or two. Begin to journal your prayers and thoughts to God. You will find your spirit begin to sprout its wings and soar. But friends, we have to trust God when he says he will answer our prayers and will show us great and unsearchable things that many of us have simply yet to experience. What I'm talking about is the incredible blessings of relationships. Relationships that occur through each of us choosing to accept the challenge of getting involved in a small group. I'm quite aware that many of us live a busy and frantic life. But in our life, we can't overlook the way God created us. He created us as relational beings. Relationships are like the windbreaks in life. So when the storms of life unleash their fury against us, the love and care of those we have relationship with buffers us and sustains us. You know, relationships are also the sugar in our lives. Through relationships, we're able to share our joys and celebrate our victories with each other. It's kind of like the pastor who went golfing on Sunday morning. He got a hole-in-one, and the dude couldn't tell anyone. He was playing golf when he was supposed to be working. Can you imagine the disappointment? Well, I can. Well, through relationships that develop in small groups, we can feel a connection point to the church and to God. I have brothers and sisters that are way smarter than me. You know, God teaches me new insights about him through them. I also have friends that are way more merciful and loving than I am. God lifts me up and he loves me through them. But he also teaches me how I can love others in a better way. I have friends that are far more spiritually insightful than me. So God speaks through them prophetically. And without fellowship, I would feel like a hand without a body attached to it. I would be absolutely useless, and my life would eventually rot and decay. That's kind of a graphic picture, isn't it? But it baffles me that the majority of those that are seeking God and spirituality choose to live their life in isolation from the second greatest gift in life, encountering others through relationships with God's people. I am quite aware that many of you have been burned by people in the church. I know what it's like to feel the rejection and disappointment that comes when God's people let us down. As the saying goes, sheep can have sharp teeth, but we can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. We have to accept that we're all in process and none of us are perfect. It's critical that we have to look to God first and not to man. When we judge God by what his people do, we end up in a heap of trouble. But as Jesus said, seek ye first the kingdom of God. So when our tanks get filled by our personal encounters with God on a regular basis, we can enter into relationships without an agenda and without the fear of rejection. That is when we begin to experience the mutual benefits of encountering others. Yes, others are there to minister to you, but what a joy we find when we can minister to them. We actually find ourselves beginning to flourish when we see the kingdom of God manifest itself through us. We see how God's spiritual gifts flow through us and how God uses us to minister to our friends. So we have to risk ourselves, don't we? If you've never been in a small group before, you may want to start with an activity group. If there's an activity group that is doing something you love to do, sign up, get connected, go try it out. If you have an interest in a particular subject matter, or if you have a particular need, there may be a group that will scratch you where you itch. Perhaps you've experienced the pain of divorce. Maybe the divorce recovery group would meet some deep needs in you. You know, maybe you've been through a tragic loss over the past year and you're still grieving. The Grief Share group can help you to process your feelings and experiences in a safe group with others that can totally relate to your situation. Now, going back to Acts 2, we're reminded that when the people came together on a regular basis to embrace the teachings of the apostles, then they shared their meals together and cared for each other's needs. This all happened in their homes. It was small groups. What a novel idea. It's a biblical model of living in community, something that is lost in our culture today. But as we intentionally commit to encounter others on a regular basis, we encounter God together, and God will add to our number daily. That is God's blueprint for the church. So I welcome you to risk yourself as you step out on a limb to encounter others. Please check out the small groups in the lobby and try it out. I believe God will meet you there. God bless you, and thanks for allowing us to try out this video message this weekend. You guys are all good sports. I know it's stretched some of you, but it is an exciting opportunity for a means to possibly expand the kingdom throughout the Western Slope. Have a great weekend.